Uneasy calm now hovers around private jet owners over moves by the federal government to commence investigation into the operation of improper imported private jets into the country. The Nigeria Customs Service has given a 30-day window period for the affected operators to regularize their documents. At least 80 operators of private jets are expected to appear at the headquarters of the Customs Service in Abuja with their aircraft import documents. Recall that 91 out of 147 identified owners and operators of private jets in the country failed the verification test conducted by the Customs Service in 2021. The 30-day exercise aims to identify improperly imported private aircraft lacking proper documentation, ensuring compliance and maximizing revenue collection, according to a public notice issued by Customs. But joining us via Zoom is General Secretary Aviation Roundtable, Olumide Ohwayo. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning.
Now, this exercise, this is not the first time we're carrying out this exercise, but the concern for me is how private jet owners can import, their jets without proper documentation into the country. Perhaps you need to walk us through the process and how it is that we are where we are now.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. What happens that if you want to bring an aircraft in which is foreign registered, according to ICAO Article 2024, aircraft on a flight to and from across the territory of another contracting state shall be admitted temporarily free of duty, subject to the customs regulation of the state. And that is what has happened. What we've seen is that most of the private jet owners buy this aircraft, bring them in and would not deregister under the guise that the aircraft is here temporarily for projects or for use, and it will be returned. And the customs in Nigeria are given 2 years that if you bring such aircraft in, you have 2 years to have it free. But if you do not take it out of the country after 2 years, then you are subject to payment of 35% tax on the value of that aircraft as the tax certificate for that aircraft to the customs money. But that's what has happened is that most of these private jet owners use offshore companies to bring in this aircraft, don't deregister, and also want to continue to have their cake and eat it. And I think there's definitely no opposition within the aviation industry for this process. What we are wondering is why they did take customs so long to implement. If you remember that at a time we had more private jets in Nigeria than even scheduled operators, and it's still happening today. So in a country where you have more private jets more than scheduled operators, it shows that there's something wrong with the system, and the system is not actually making use of the potentials they're supposed to generate effectively for the private jet services. The private jet services is an inelastic demand, and they are the ones that oil the wheel of civil aviation by virtue of the taxes and regulations collected there. But then, now that they've woken up, good morning, Nigerian Customs.
Well, you just spoke what was on my mind with regards to why it is taking the Customs Service this long to put in place the necessary measures to check the activities of these private owners. Do we not have laws that should be implemented? And perhaps what are the lapses? Obviously, there are lapses with regards to addressing this matter.
Well, the laws are there, and the laws are firm. Remember, the man that was bold enough to start this initiative was the immediate past customs CG. That's Mr. Amid Ali. Sorry. Started the process. That shows his boldness. But remember that the category of people we're talking about are not just millionaires, but they are billionaires who have tentacles within and outside the government, who can delay and tarry and even change it. I won't allow a law not to be implemented. 17 of them went to court when Amid Ali started the process. They went to court to stop it, and the court is still deciding. The case is still in court. Sorry, and as the case is in court, some of them are still paying, knowing the that is foolhardy to continue to push when you know you have broken the law. And I think I just heard that the customs is continuing moving to 3 years. I think you should just sustain it at 2 years. That 2 years, you have to pay the tax. But you know what everybody wants to have the cake and eat. Generally, when they bring this aircraft in, they don't want to register. And I can tell you the reason why they don't want to register the aircraft. Because the aircraft itself loses value when you use a Nigerian registration on it. So they want to retain registration. Apart from losing value, the premium and insurance goes up. You know, for such flights, you have to pay more insurance, and then if you have to travel to some other countries, the documentations will be asked based on the state of registration. And so for a country like Nigeria, they might be asking excessive compensation for you to comply with whether the European standard or the American standard for you to enter that country. Most of them don't want to do that, and go to that. That's why they retain. But loss is 2 years, and after 2 years, it's registered. And I think you take it out, you export it out, or you register it and pay the duties attached to it.
All right. So they are also concerned about implementation of this policy when it elapses in 30 days. And from the reports we're reading online, it's saying that about 91 out of the 147 identified owners and operators of private jets in the country failed the verification test conducted by the NTS in 2021.
Yeah, if they fail the verification, that means that the documentation is not about the safety of that aircraft now. We're talking about the revenue that will also be paid for bringing such equipment into the country. Now, so if they fail the verification, what would happen? The first time they will have to liaise with the Modern Interagency Corporation here, I mean the NCA and NAMA. Such aircraft should be granted immediately, which I think that's what the customs is also acting for. When such funds are paid. I remember it was supposed to be 5%. For those who have delayed payment, they're going to pay an additional 35% for that. And I think the customs got it right this time. We should be bold. We cannot have laws that we cannot implement. And if you implement your laws, people will respect your laws. And you see how everything will work well and carry for the state. Like I said earlier, the non-scheduled operators, private jet owners, are the ones that are supposed to oil the industry. Remember, they don't even charge in naira. They charge per hour in dollars. Mm-hmm. And when you charge per hour in dollars, then you should also pay your taxes.
Okay, so my colleague asked earlier that why is it that these planes are coming into Nigeria without proper documentation, but also I'll ask, why are we allowing these planes to operate in Nigeria when they're not paying their taxes?
Well, like I said earlier, what they do is that non-scheduled operators, scheduled operators are allowed, commercial operators are allowed to bring in such aircraft, and some things are waived for them. Mm-hmm. Now, they attach aircraft to such conditions that they are coming for a project, and the project is being handled by the company abroad who they have registered the aircraft in its name. And when you register the aircraft with a foreign number and it's not a Nigerian number, then the article 24 of ICAO kicks in. Now, if that article that I read earlier kicks in, then you're also subject to the rules and regulations of customs of the contracting state, which is Nigeria in this case. Now, Nigeria says, okay, you can use this for 2 years. So they're bringing it in. Bringing it in is not a problem. When it's after 2 years, you must export it or you register it with the Nigerian number and pay the appropriate taxes. So it is those 2 years. It is the 2 years window. So if you're not in Nigeria for what it is, there's always an abuse of a process. Rather than to register, export the aircraft back, they kept those aircraft in Nigeria and we're using it to run their businesses and without paying the requisite tax or bringing it to the country. So I think I don't want to blame customs here for this lacuna we found ourselves. I think it's a systemic thing. But when you deal with the rich and powerful,
but someone has to take responsibility.
Yes, I agree. They have to take responsibility. But you see, it's not the problem of the customs alone. But the regulator is there. The Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority should also have monitored this. I don't want to push the customs line. They should have been working together to ensure this does not happen. But now that they decided to work together and get the necessary revenue for the federal government, I think it's welcomed by me. And if you notice that there are not any opposition within the industry. We all support the initiative of the customs Customs and Excise Department and ensure that the NCA to work hand in hand with them to ensure that this revenue comes back to the country.
So the end goal of this is revenue generation for the government at the end of the day, from what you're saying. That's on the one hand. And two, are you really confident that these checks, when you look at the caliber of persons involved, you mentioned that there are billionaires who owns this jet, and that's true. They have looked for ways to cut corners, the majority of them. But would we be able to achieve the goal of checking the processes at the end of the day, aside revenue generation?
Well, when you mention a name like Nigeria Customs, the only thing Nigeria Customs is after is revenue. Just revenue and not safety. So, and when you're supposed to, this revenue is supposed to be coming from part of the civil aviation income to the economy. So I think I support it, and they should continue with it. Again, like you said, your second part of the question says, do I think they'll be able to continue effectively? You know, Nigerians, when you start and you get it so easy, and you can go by and beat the law, you will enjoy it as long as possible. But now that customers are not putting their foot down, that this is the regulation, and this regulation must comply with it, I can tell you everybody will comply with it. Provided the NCA work hand in hand with them and ensure that all airlines comply with it. So moving forward, I don't think we would have a situation by a private jet operator would bring an aircraft in and have it for about 8-10 years without paying a deposit tax. That's the rate on the country. And for the fines given to them, the 25% surcharge, I think I also support that, and for those who have violated the law.
Again, this circles back to implementation of the law, because I recall that this is the second time in 3 years that since this directive was given, yet in the space of time, nothing was done about it. Are you confident that the law will be implemented?
Well, I'm very confident. You see, what happened, when you say, yes, we are right that it happened, started in 2021, yeah? 2021, sorry. 2021, and 18 of them went to court to stop the process. While some complied and paid, some of them, which are among the 70, went to court. But along the line now, some of those who went to court have withdrawn from that team and are also making efforts to comply with the new regulations. Now, we have a template.
All right.
Implement it, encourage them to implement and sustain it as much as possible.
Okay, Olumide, if you can still hear me. Now, earlier you mentioned the processes for registration, and I am wondering if you think that perhaps we have so much bottlenecks with regards to the processes and that it needs to be reviewed as it is so that we can easily tackle this problem from the root as it is, and then have something smooth, that we have a smooth ride and can easily identify who is wrong. Can you hear me? Yeah. Did you get my question?
Please, can you take that question again?
Okay, so I was talking about you mentioning earlier the processes for private jet owners to register their jets as it is. And I'm saying that, do you think that the process is quite cumbersome and that we need to review it so we can easily address these matters as against leaving it for a prolonged time as it is?
No, I don't think the process of registering aircraft are cumbersome. I think it's the Nigerians that have this mentality. There's that mentality here that once you're a billionaire, you can do and do. The laws are made for those who don't have the poor. Yeah. Can I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So the law has always been there. The point was implementation. And when I remember the immediate passage, Customs Controller General, being a very hard man, being a very firm man, was able to activate that law and said, "Look, this will not happen under my watch," and it started the process. And I think the new one, the president was the one on the seat now. I said, "Okay, I will continue from where you stop." And when you say once they continue, I know it will not get that bad anymore. But what I would just advise that they should not work alone, because some of these people might not give them the necessary information. It must be there must be that partnership with the Nigerian Aviation Authority, who in the first place are the one that gets the process of registration of that aircraft till it gets into the country or under their control. So as they handle safety, handle registration, it should also ensure that the requisite taxes, because I know NCA collected all the charges that are due to them from this aircraft. The one that is due to the federal government through the Nigerian Customs should also be paid, and the NCA must be seen supporting the process, and also the Nigerian Express Management should also work with them and ensure that such aircraft that have not paid those import taxes are grounded. Because today, almost all these agencies send 50% of their revenue generation to the government as enshrined the law now that you must bring in 50% of the revenue. So we must ensure we increase our revenue and don't allow the powerful to suppress the law. And I think this process is good, but this process should be continued and be formed. But again, we're all Nigerians, and as you are having your impression that will they be able to continue, I have the belief that the point is always implementation. Once we start implementing, we don't withdraw back in the industry.
Okay, so let's look at the aviation sector in general now. If this law is implemented, how do you see the aviation sector growing and becoming better than it is right now?
Remember, what I started my speech, when talking today, that for the non-scheduled sector and the private jet, in all economies, they are the ones that generate almost more funds than oil industry compared to the scheduled operators. Because they charge in dollars and the fees are high. So and the demand is inelastic, and because it's inelastic, it's whatever they give to you. For an hour flight, you are looking about from $5,000 to about $7,000 to $8,000, depending on the size of the aircraft and the distance to be covered. So when you see such charges and they pay taxes, if you do not do your monitoring very well, then you will not get this revenue. So you must monitor, you must improve technology. You must ensure that you log onto the other global systems, supply systems, to ensure that all flights, all movements captured, and ensure that the funds generated from it are recorded. And I think if we do that, aviation will contribute more to the GDP of the country than we'll be contributing in the past. And I think it's the onus is on us to ensure that we continue to look at that sector who's supposed to be money industry and watch out for all things to do that does not help the government in getting this revenue. And if you also notice that the same set of people, some of them use their aircraft for commercial purposes. They check this aircraft out, and yet you don't want to pay for such aircraft because you refuse to register. I think I want the government to farm and sustain it, and I think that is not possible. But the process has now started, and people are paying quietly. They're not really arguing; they're already paying, and I just think the process they'll see that they get to the end of it.
And the matter of private jet owners carrying out commercial duties have been brought to the fore. I wonder if there's been any private jet owner who have been penalized for carrying out all of those commercial activities as it is in recent times. I do not know. Maybe you could shed more light on that, because there are reports that if anyone falls short, there will be penalties, and that they will look through and ensure that they go through with the penalties as it is.
Yes, I think about two months ago, the NCA came out with a statement identifying 3 of them, and they were grounded and the penalties fall, but they did not mention their names. And we kept saying, you cannot give us some information. We need the full names and the organizations that you have grounded, and that has not been done to date. It shows the power of the people, but then of those classes of people. But then that we have opened up to the rogue companies who use their private jet for commercial operations, and the industry has woken up to that. The NCA is on top of it now. They've set up a committee to investigate all those flights, and you cannot have a private jet and the private jet is logging about 10 to 12 hours a day, go to different cities. Where is the man going to? Is he not working? Does he not have an office? So it's not as if he's working in the air. So something is wrong with such a movement, and I think that investigation process has started. They've been able to ground 3, and I think more will follow with this payment of taxes.
All right, we'll leave the conversation here now. Olumide Uhuayo, General Secretary, Aviation Roundtable, thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Right. And finally on the show, we went to the streets of